grab them. Okay, y'all, this is going to be a super impromptu video. I'm so excited. I finally got my setup set up. How do you like? I have this really good webcam. It's better than my other webcam, Joe. As you can see, it's allergy season, so I look a damn fool. I look a mess. My eyes are puffy. The bags are bagging. But I just got this set up. I have energy, and I do want to record a little video. And I think the video I want to record for YouTube is going to be the story time of how my house burned down on my 29th birthday. Are y'all ready? Yeah. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Madiswan channel. My name is Madison, and this is going to be my first non-podcast visual YouTube video in quite some time. There's so much I need to catch up with you, and we will catch up via this video. This video in particular, this is my first time recording on this computer. This is my first time with this mic. This is my first time with this light. This is my first time with this camera. I finally got my temporary setup set up because this video is going to be a story time of how my house and my grandparents' house burned down on my 29th birthday. Also, there's a couple things. Also, some housekeeping before we get into the story time. Number one, I have a Substack. Hit the link in the bio to join my Substack. I post weekly. I have a paid tier and a free tier. So if you're not willing to spend some change on me, that's all good. The paid tier is $5 a month, $50 for the whole year. I have movie reactions over there. I will be filming a bunch of new movie reactions over there. So check that out because they're a bitch to edit for YouTube. So I just put them on the paid tier and I don't have to edit as much, which is great. On top of that, I also do content creation advice. So definitely check that out. That'll be on the paid tier. I do videos on content creation advice. So get into that. How do I zoom out with this thing? Ciao. I'm figuring out this camera, this webcam. That being said, so check out the paid tier for that. For the free tier, I do weekly posts. I write. I do a bunch of different stuff. So get into that. I do also have a book club. We just finished Parable of the Sower. We are about to have our second meeting for Parable of the Talents. And we're about to go into our next book, our third book of the year, which is Kindred. All correspondence and information about book club, polls that you can vote on, timing, all sorts of stuff, what the next book is going to be. All those communications are decided through the Substack. So definitely subscribe if you want to join a book club. We do all book club via Discord. So you'll get the Discord link. You'll be tapped in, introduce yourself. We have a whole Discord server for book club. So get into that as well. Also, of course, I have a podcast called Bloodstained where I talk about history through the lens of true crime. Season 1 is all about slavery. I had to end that season early because of the story time that I'm about to tell you, but all of those videos are up. I am super proud about the Bloodstained podcast. It is my pride and joy. It would have been my grad school thesis if I wanted to go into more student loan debt, but I don't. But yeah, link in the bio. Visual is on the YouTube channel, so subscribe to the YouTube channel. Definitely hit the bell notification. I have a whole slew of new YouTube videos that I'm going to be pumping out soon, so get into that. But the visuals are on there and the audio is on all platforms. Again, link in the bio for all of my links. Go to my link tree and, follow me on all of those things. The Bloodstained podcast everywhere. So get into that. Okay. Now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, now that I made all my announcements about what I've been up to, where I've been, what's been going on, it's time to do a full-on breakdown story time of the day my house and my grandparents' house burned down on my 29th birthday. Let's talk about it. Okay, so boom. It's January 7th, 2025. That is my 29th birthday. And, that morning I'm awoken at like 3 a.m. because my windows are like banging open and shut. And I like wake up at the bangs and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on? And I realize that the Santa Ana winds are here. Now, if you are familiar, if you live in California, you know that the Santa Ana winds are just something that we deal with. It is a regular occurrence multiple times a year. It is like this windstorm that comes in and just kind of blows everything. Sometimes they're super strong, sometimes they're kind of normally strong. This was a particularly strong set of Santa Ana winds. So I'm awoken out of my sleep to my windows opening and closing. So I have to latch them closed. And I'm like, wow, what a way to start my birthday. It's like 3 a.m. So, this is a Tuesday. It's a work day. I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm taking the day off work for my birthday. I just work. I make my money. I'm a low key girl with my birthday. I like to just have dinner with my friends. I never plan anything super big. I just like to have fun with my girls. So we were probably going to do something that weekend, but we were going to plan and talk and discuss, on the day. I go back to sleep, I wake back up, and my sister brings me my birthday present, which is kind of a tradition that we've done since we were kids. Our mom would leave our birthday gift in our room and when it was our birthday, and they'd sing happy birthday or bring me like a drink or like a coffee or like just sit with me on my birthday. It was always a tradition we did in my household. So since I lived in my childhood home with my sister, it was just the two of us. She brought me my gift that her and my mom went half on for my birthday, which was this purse that I'd been wanting. I needed a new everyday bag. It was a red leather, gorgeous bucket type bag, everyday, so cute, dark red. As you can see, I'm a red girl. Red is my favorite color. And it was just stunning. So she brought the box. I opened it. It was really fun. It was really nice. I got ready up. I got ready for, work and all of the things. It's still windy, mind you. Okay, cool. Get ready for work, head over to work, and it's just a normal day. I go to work, do my thing, talk to my boss. It's not a big deal. I don't tell her it's my birthday. I never talk about my birthday at work. I'm just not that girl. I don't need attention from other people. My boss is really nice, but like we don't need to be like that close. You know what I mean? So it's my survival job. I'm nice, I'm cordial, I'm civil at work, but you don't need to know all the shit about me. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I have a normal day. It's great. The cleaning lady, I work in a home office at my boss's house. And so the cleaning lady was there. She's so nice. I love her. And so I was walking out and she's like, stay safe. And she always says that whenever I leave for the day. And I'm like, you too. The wind is going crazy. It's all over the place to the point where like I'm having trouble driving home. Like the resistance from the wind in my car, I'm like struggling to drive home. I'm like, damn, this wind is crazy. Now, I've been through many a Santa Ana windstorms. It's not that new to me, but there's been a couple that have stood out in my mind. One of them was in 10th grade in high school. There was a windstorm that had me and all of the area out of school for like 2 days because it was insane. We didn't have power for nearly a week and it was just crazy. Like, whole cement light towers were snapped. It was like over 100 mile an hour winds. We hadn't had one of those since I was in 10th grade. But this was shaping up to be like that. And I didn't even realize. I just woke up to the wind, went to work. The wind was consistent throughout the day, drove home, the resistance in my car. And I was like, oh, this is a windstorm. But I didn't realize that it was going to be like 100 mile an hour winds. Keep that in mind. So I'm home, I'm chilling, I'm about to chill for the day. I call my best friend Jenna and I'm like, okay, hey girl. We talk about my birthday. We're like, okay, I'm thinking of dinner. Let's talk to Chloe. Let's try and plan something, blah, blah, blah. My sister comes home. She's sent home early because of the winds. So she gets home way earlier than normal and she starts cooking dinner. The winds are going dumb and she gets a phone call from my dad that there's a fire that has broken out in Eaton Canyon. Now, it's important for people to understand where I live, where I used to live, mind you, because I can't live there no more right now. Eaton Canyon is like a nature reserve in the area. It's beautiful. There's a beautiful hikes, beautiful nature, beautiful wildlife, waterfalls and stuff like that. It's a local like nature place. I grew up hiking there, all of that stuff. There's a nature center where they hold events and stuff like that. It's a really, really cute little area. People love to hike there. But there had been a fire there a couple times in my lifetime. There was one right before I was born. There was another one, but the one 30 years ago was huge. And my dad would always talk about it because my sister was going to preschool, and he remembers driving my sister to preschool, and he's driving past Eaton Canyon, and embers are flying, and he sees a whole palm tree just go poof, up in flames. And he's like, actually, I'm turning around and I'm taking my child with me. We're not going to school. You're not separating from me. And he drives past his parents' house, who live kind of near Eaton Canyon. And he's checking on his parents' house, like, what's good? And basically, you know, they're preparing to evacuate, but they don't have to evacuate. That was 30 years ago. Okay. And the rumor has it that fire was started by a houseless person who, you know, their heating system got out of hand, right? So Eaton Canyon has caught on fire a couple times. And so this isn't anything new. The issue is the winds are so crazy that everyone's just like, what is about to happen? And my grandparents have been living in their house by Eaton Canyon for over 40 years. They've seen a couple fires, and, you know, they were kind of nervous, but they weren't sure if they were going to be spared or not. You know what I'm saying? Because they had this same fire path happen before, and they were fine. They didn't have to evacuate. My dad had heard from a friend of his, a colleague of his. They had texted him and said, hey, there's a fire in Eaton Canyon. Are you okay? And that's when he, you know, started, you know, getting ready with his parents, like, what are we going to do? Because the winds were so crazy. There was a neighbor that was knocking on the door because my grandparents are the oldest in the neighborhood. They wanted to make sure that they knew. And they're like, we're evacuating. You should evacuate. So my dad, my grandma and grandpa are starting to pack their car. Mind you, this is about 6-ish in the evening that this is all happening. So my dad's calling my sister saying, we're packing, we're evacuating, this is what's happening, da 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 da. The plan was, you know, my dad was like, maybe they'll come to our house or whatever. But my sister was like, go to mom's house in South Pasadena and, you know, evacuate there, just because we are also in Altadena. So we don't want them there. My grandparents are 85. We don't want them to have to evacuate twice. So take them to South Pasadena. We'll wait it out, whatever. Cool. Now, my dad, I don't hear from them. They're packing up, and they're heading down to South Pasadena. So they're evacuating. If you understand where Eaton Canyon is in relation to where I live, you would never think that my house would burn down in this fire. You know what I'm saying? The amount of houses that would have to burn for my house to burn is catastrophic. So my sister and I are kind of nervous, but we're also like, our house is going to be fine. You know, it's like maybe something's going to happen to grandma and grandpa's house or whatever, but our house is going to be fine. So, but at the same breath, we're like, let's also just pack things up for a couple days. If we need to evacuate, let's just make sure we're ready. I eat, I'm chilling, you know, I pack my stuff up. I'm literally shaking. My hands are shaking as I'm uploading my last podcast episode called George Washington Had Slave Teeth. Link in the bio. Listen to the podcast episode or watch it. But I'm literally shaking as I'm making sure to upload everything, type everything, make sure everything is scheduled out to post, all of that kind of stuff, because I wasn't sure if I would be able to do that. And I had already uploaded everything on both the Substack, on the podcast app, and on YouTube before I left for work. So I was making sure to finish all of that up so my podcast episode would come out regardless of whatever fire type thing. So cool. I'm doing that. My hands are shaking. I eat, then I pack my stuff up. I put on something comfy. I put on a sweatsuit. I pack all my stuff. I think I'm going to just be leaving for a couple of days, but I do pack my suitcase. I do pack it with some stuff. And I just kind of I pack some pictures. I pack my childhood photo album from preschool. I pack up my photo album that I made with my boyfriend. Pack it up. We call my mom, coordinate with her, tell her that my dad's parents are coming and my dad's going to come to, evacuate there. She's totally fine. She's prepping everything for them to come. And she's like, okay, make sure to get my documents in this drawer of this thing. Let me pause here and explain my living situation because it's kind of confusing. Okay. So I grew up in Altadena and I have my family home in Altadena, where I was born and raised, where my sister, me, and my mom and dad lived my entire life, okay? My parents divorced when I was 19 in college. So my dad moved out and moved into his parents' house, who live 5 minutes away. They're on good terms, mind you. My parents are on good terms, so it's fine. So he moved out and moved in with his parents, who live 5 minutes away, and he'd been living with them. They're aging. It was a good setup, whatever. So because he lived there, a lot of his stuff was there, but a lot of his stuff was stored at the house because technically he still owned the house. You know what I mean? My sister and I were just living in it. My mom lived with us in the house as well for some time. And then after her parents got placed in a memory care facility, and then some other things have happened with her family home and insurance and stuff, she decided to just move into her family home. So at the time of the fire, my sister and I lived in our childhood home alone for the most part. My mom would come in and stay with us here or there, right? My dad lived 5 minutes away in his childhood home with his parents. My mom lived at her family home in South Pasadena alone. Okay, this house is big. It holds a lot of people. She grew up here, but she lives there alone, and her siblings would come and just stay. It's like the family home where we have Christmas and stuff, but she lives there, she works there, whatever. And she fully moved out probably a year and a half before the fire. This is important, okay? So technically my family has 3 homes in the general 20-minute vicinity of this area, okay? So, and both my parents are in their childhood home and I'm in my childhood home. Very funny. So anyway, dad coordinates with my mom to get his parents and get evacuated down to South Pasadena. We are kind of like, okay, my mom calls us and she's like, get these things because, you guys should come here and pack your cars with this stuff. So we do. And my sister and I look into our closet and my mom has this big tub of all of our pictures. And she'd always be like, I need to do something with these. I need a scrapbook. But thank God she didn't do anything and separate them because all of our pictures are in this huge ass, heavy ass tub. And my sister and I look at each other and we're like, we need to, we were like, should we do it? Should we not? And I was like, let's just put it in the car now. And if, we don't want to lose it. So if anything, we'll just put it in the car and bring it back. And my sister, I remember she was like, we're fucking up mom's room. Cause we're digging in her closet, bringing this big ass tub out. It was so messy or whatever. But we're like, sorry, mom, but we got to do this. So in the midst of 100-mile-an-hour winds, my sister and I are carrying all of our stuff in, packing up our cars, whatever, making sure everything's in my car. I have a bigger car, so we're packing up my car. So we're all packed up, whatever. We're waiting to decide. Everyone on the beautiful Altadena Facebook page is like, download this app called the Watch Duty app. This is how we're kind of tracking where the fire's going and who needs to evacuate next. Put a pin in that because I have opinions about that. I get a call from my friend Hike from college. He's calling me to say happy birthday with his girlfriend Khadija, whom I love. And they're both like, are you evacuating? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. It's fine. The fire's way over there. It's fine. If I evacuate, but we're fine, whatever. Talk to them for a bit. Then I'm like, I gotta go, blah, blah, blah. So everything's uploaded for my podcast. I'm just kind of sitting and waiting. I have a cocktail. My sister and I are kind of like, what? We're antsy. So we get the confirmation that our grandparents are safe in South My dad is like, he texts us and he's like, I'm going to spend the night up there with you guys. And if we need to go, we need to go. And we're like, okay, cool. Like that kind of de-stresses it because it's like, now it's not just my sister and I, our dad's here. We're all coming together, blah, blah, blah. So he's making his way back from South Pasadena, back up to Altadena. Okay, our power is still on. All of this stuff is happening. My sister goes to get something from her car, and all the men of the street are like gathered. They're like talking to everyone. We have a few small families on the street, and they're kind of like discussing whether they're evacuating or not. And, you know, a lot of them are. So within the next 30 minutes, a lot of them are gone and our street is pretty quiet. Our neighbor to the right of us, who we grew up with, she grew up in the house next door to us. We grew up with her. We love her. Her name's Angelique. She and my sister were texting, and my sister was making sure to let her know what we were doing so she could do it too. She told her, download this app. Okay. Watch it, keep watching it just in case we have to evacuate. She's like, we're packing up the car. You should pack up the car, get dressed, put your clothes on, all of that stuff. Get your pictures. Like my sister was relaying the information. If we were doing something, we were telling Angelique to do something. Mind you, the street is mostly gone at this point. A lot of people had left to evacuate. We're waiting for my dad. My sister's like cooking breakfast. We're like, okay, let's prep the bed for my dad. Da, 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 da. He's coming, whatever. It's taking him hella long. And we're just like, what's going on? You know, what's going on? My mom is like, are you guys coming? She's getting scared because she's just kind of like, just come, you know, just come. So where Altadena is located, it's at the foothills of the mountains in the Los Angeles area. It's part of LA County. So where I'm located, I could see the glow of the fire. I had been through a couple fires in my lifetime in Altadena, but just not in these kinds of windy conditions, mind you. So we're looking at the glow. We're kind of like, I'm like constantly looking out. The wind is insane. It's like rattling the house. And we're just like, okay, like we're waiting for dad. That's just what we're doing. All our stuff is by the door. We're going to pick it up and go. It's all fine. It's all good. It's not a big deal. We're waiting for dad. So finally, I call my dad and I'm like, where are you? Hello, you were supposed to like come here. Like, what's going on? My dad is like one of those people that likes to like drive around and look at stuff. So he had gone the long way from South Pass to Altadena, and he had come across New York Drive and seen the golf course on fire, which is a big deal. He saw an ember go on someone's front lawn. He stopped his car, and some other guy stopped his car. They knocked on their door, but he ended up helping this guy put out the fire. No one was there. And at this point of the night, the fire was blowing east away from us. So we're kind of like, okay, maybe we're in the clear. We don't know. Dad comes in. He's like, okay, I'm on my way, blah, blah, blah. We don't hear from him. Blah, 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 blah. My sister and I are kind of nervous. We're waiting. And then the power goes out. Boom. It's about 10. So we're kind of like, shit, it's like 10:30. We're like, fuck, the power just went out. That is when our dad comes. He opens the front door. He looks at us so serious. My dad is a very silly man. He looks at us so serious and he's like, get your stuff. We are leaving now. And we're like, and pray for your grandparents' house. And we were like, huh? We were like, okay, what has changed? Like, what is going on? So my sister and I just get information, get our shit. It's already in the car. We're already packed up. We drive. We get in the car. You know, we're like, Dad, what's going on? He's just like, just go. So what he tells us is that he drove past his parents' house and he had seen one of the palm trees in their backyard was on fire. The firefighters were out front, but they did not have a hose big enough to reach the back. So he was just like, pray for their house. They're there, but we don't know what they can do type thing. So we're like, maybe their house will survive. Maybe it won't. Maybe the firefighters will get access. Maybe they won't. But it's kind of like up in the air. But we're like, the fire is on their property at that point. We all caravan. We all hop in our cars. We all caravan down to South Pasadena to my mom's place. We all get our stuff. My grandparents are in bed relaxing. We say hi. Everyone says happy birthday to me. I'm like, this is the worst birthday ever. Okay. We're evacuated, whatever. Have all our stuff. It's all good. And I go into my mom's bedroom with my sister and I start to cry. Something about being near my mom, I just can break down. I can be strong, but with my mom, I just started to cry and I was like, what's going to happen? Like, I don't know. Like, this is my birthday. Like, what's going on? Like, this is insane. And she's just like, rubbing my back, letting me cry. Me and my mom share a room, my sister, my dad share a room, my grandparents share a room, and then we have another cousin who also lives in Altadena who came down and evacuated, and she has a room to herself. So the house is full, okay? So I don't sleep that night. I don't sleep a wink that night. And who would? Because I was unsure. So let me just paint the picture. I'm laying down in the bed. I have my earbuds in, listening to a live broadcast from NPR about the fires. Mind you, the fire that broke out for us wasn't even the only fire that broke out that night. There was about 5 fires that broke out in the LA County area that night. The Palisades had already been burning since 11 a.m. Our fire started at 6 p.m. Those were the 2 biggest. But there was a fire in Sylmar. There was a fire kind of close to Huntington Drive. And there was another fire that broke out because the embers were flying. So I'm listening to the NPR live broadcast of the fires. I am also looking at the Watch Duty app on my phone. I'm cross-reference, which is the app that is updating, telling people when to evacuate and just showing the expanse of the fire, updating. I'm also looking at a Twitter page called Los Angeles Scanner that is tweeting what the police scanner is picking up. So all the 911 calls of people being like, hey, a fire just broke out here, a fire just broke out here. They would type it. They stayed up all night. And they were typing just like, okay, a fire broke out on this, this location in Mar Vista, on Mar Vista Street. Fire broke out on Maiden Lane, da-da-da-da. So I'm cross-referencing what I'm looking at the Watch Duty app, what I'm hearing on the NPR live broadcast, what I'm looking at on the Los Angeles Scanner page on Twitter, and what I'm looking at via the beautiful Altadena Facebook page and people just posting where they're evacuating, what's going on, da-da-da-da-da. I don't sleep. Finally kind of rest, wake up, look at Los Angeles Scanner and see that the fire had made it to this street called Highland, which is a street where one of our family friends lives. And I was like, wait, how did it get that far? Go to sleep a little bit, wake up. The fire had made it to a street called Mar Vista, which is a street away from where one of my oldest best friend's house is and her family home. So I'm like, fuck. Go to sleep, wake up. Look at that beautiful Altadena page and see that the fire had jumped lake and was somewhere, on the other side of lake. Okay. So all of this is happening. I'm cross-referencing, but I'm realizing that the Watch Duty app, the official app that everyone was told to download to know when you were when your zone is being evacuated, had not updated in hours. Right? So I'm able to cross-reference because I'm somewhere safe. You feel me? But a lot of people aren't. People are sleeping. People assume the fire won't get to them. The app hadn't updated since 10-ish in the evening. The fire had jumped lake at 11 p.m. The Watch Duty app did not give out evacuation notices to anyone west of Lake Avenue in Altadena until 3:45 a.m. Okay. The fire had been ravaged a bunch of homes. People woke up to smoke in their lungs, going to knock on the elderly's door on their street, making sure people got out. They woke up to their block burning without any warning because the Watch Duty app had not notified anyone until 4 hours later. Yes. So I'm kind of like, it's a draw. I don't know if my house is here. I don't know what's good, at this point, because the fire moved so far west, much farther west than I thought. Because of the conditions, right? It's a cumulative situation. We have the fact that it had not rained in 8 months, hella dry. The fact that Southern California Edison does not regularly maintenance their power lines. That's number 2. and they did not turn off power, even though they knew that there was going to be a 100-mile-an-hour windstorm. And then the Santa Ana winds. And because these Santa Ana winds existed, they were unable to do the helicopter dropping to contain the fire, which they normally would have been able to do. There was no visibility, there was no power, there was no ability for them to get up in that helicopter with those winds and drop that water. So it's a bunch of these issues stacking. At this point, don't know if my house survived. I wake up, I go to bed, I wake up, get a text from my sister, and she's like, don't tell mom, dad and I already left. We went to Home Depot. We're going to the house. We're going to get hoses and we're going to see what's good. We're going to try and fight this fire. So I'm waking up like, fuck, like I can't tell my mom what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Wake up, sit with my mom. It's early. We're sitting next to each other. We're just commiserating. And I get a text from my sister that shows me a picture of my grandparents' house, which is just a chimney. And so I'm like, Grandma and Grandpa's house burned down. And she's just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so I'm like, fuck. Don't hear from my sister. Don't hear from my sister. Call. I'm like, what the fuck? Finally get a text from her and she's like, our house is burned to the ground. It's burning. And I was like, oh my God. And so I have to tell my mom that our house is burned. And she's like, what? So early that morning, my grandparents' house burned and our house burned. My sister and dad went to that house. When they got to the house, the entire backyard was in flames. All of it. My dad's office in the backyard was completely engulfed in flames. While they were there trying to do what they could, embers got into our crawl space and the house went up. And they watched my house go up. And they basically just watched it go up. And they knew that they couldn't save it because there was no firefighters in sight. They were over capacity. They were spread so thin. There's not even a firefighter that they could call to come. So they knew that our house was going to burn to the ground. And that level of hopelessness, that level of unable to controlness is so attuned to that experience, because so many stories of people that I know in Altadena or whatever had that experience. The LA fire department was spread so thin amongst like 5 different fires. There wasn't enough water. The water pressure had gone out by then. Like by the early morning, it was just kind of a done deal. Altadena was essentially left to burn, point blank. And on top of that, West Altadena was left to burn with little to no notice that it was going to burn. So that's why everyone who passed away in the Eaton Fire was west of Lake Avenue. Most of them were people of color. And that's because there was no evacuation notice for 4 hours. Now, this is where I ran because I was watching this happen in real time. If you don't know Altadena, it's the most beautiful place in Los Angeles County. Point blank. Best kept secret. Love it. Grew up there. Dad grew up there. Mom grew up there. Absolutely stunning. Has a deep-rooted history with Black home ownership. My grandparents lived there. Both sets. They bought homes there. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful community. But there is the haves and the have-not side, you know? There's a line of demarcation, and that line of demarcation is Lake Avenue. On the east side of Lake, it is very affluent, lots of big houses, lots of white people. That was the line of demarcation for the most part. On the west side, poorer, smaller lots, working class people. So it's not lost on me that the east side of Altadena got told to evacuate completely by about 6:30 p.m. Everyone had basically left. All our friends had hit us up there, say we're leaving, we're evacuating. We were told to evacuate by 6:30. No one on the west side of Altadena, even though the fire had jumped Lake Avenue, the line of demarcation at 11 p.m., no one on the west side of Altadena was told to evacuate until 3:45 p.m. a.m. Okay, so this is the case where elderly people are waking up to smoke in their lungs. People are running out of the house with what they got on. No time to grab any important documents, just everything, just the clothes on their back. you know, and that's because there was a glitch. I don't know what happened with the notification service that we were all told to download. If I had stayed, I wouldn't have been told to evacuate till 5 in the morning. And at that point, my house was already engulfed in flames. So had we stayed, had we slept there, you know what I mean? Like, had we not prepared, had we not packed the car, what ifs, you know what I'm saying? But luckily, we had escaped and just been smart and decided to just come around 10:30 that night. There's so much that I still have to work through because I am so lucky to be alive. And I haven't really sat with that. You know what I mean? I haven't really sat with the fact that I could have just died on my birthday. My eyes are watering because it's just like so many people lost their lives, but I really could have. And thank God for community. Thank God for neighbors that you know. Thank God for people that you know in your community. Because when I tell you every piece of infrastructure failed, every single piece of infrastructure failed us. Okay. After the election happened, there's been this very carceral conversation that's been happening online. This very insular, like, fuck around and find out, fuck community, I'm only taking care of me, myself, and I voted, I don't deserve this kind of attitude. But that you don't know until you're facing a cataclysmic experience like that, how little infrastructure in this country is actually there to protect you and save you. You don't realize that all the tax dollars you pay to pay for roads, to pay for this, to pay for that, that is not a guarantee that when it's time for you to be in need of all of those things to come in, that they will come and save you. This was a failure on multiple levels. On the level of the notification service, okay? It was a failure on the level of Los Angeles County in general, because what we found out later was that there was more than enough firefighters to help, but there was a fleet of firefighting vehicles that had not been properly maintained, and LA County could not afford to pay the mechanics to maintenance them. So there are firefighters tapping in, but there was no vehicles to take them to the respective fires that they could have helped at. Governmentally, our inability to fight corporate greed and climate change are huge factors in this. The fact that Southern California Edison had not maintenance this specific transformer that arced in the wind and sparked and started this fire. The fact that we are not even taking climate change seriously when we were deep in winter and it had not rained in 8 months. This was my 29th birthday, and what it really came down to was the fact that I had lived in that home for my entire life. I knew my neighbors, and we all had a meeting and evacuated. The fact that people had texted my dad to make sure he knew there was a fire so he can get his parents out. That neighbor that knocked on my grandparents' door because they knew that they were elderly, to make sure that they knew what was going on. It was the neighbors that knew each other that saved each other. Point blank. A lot of the infrastructure you think will save you is not there. It's not there. This country, it's not there. It's not there. This country is broker than you think, and that money is being funneled to other channels. It is not there. I'm telling you that now. So that was a sobering realization, but also it made me realize how important community, getting out there. My sister and I walk every single morning. So we knew, everyone up and down our block, so many people see us every day. We wave, we talk, we say hi. They may not know our names, but we are familiar with them. All of that was able to cash in on the fact that our community was strong. They knew us, they trusted us, and we were all working together to make sure everyone was safe. That is really what was between me and burning up in my childhood home on my birthday. there are so many things to say. I have several fire updates. If you want to follow my fire rebuilding journey, follow my Instagram, again, link in the bio on my link tree. Follow my Substack. I have several videos for you to catch up on about the updates about the Eaton Fire and different things that have been found out. At this point in time, it's pretty much a given that Southern California Edison is responsible. At this point, Los Angeles County is also suing Southern California Edison. We are also suing. A bunch of us in Altadena are suing Southern California Edison for their faulty equipment. They're going to have to pay 100%, pay what they're owed. 1,000%, because they are going to be held responsible for what they did to my community. My entire community is gone. The post office is gone. My childhood school is gone. All of the liquor store I'd go to get my, lighters, the places I'd walk by, the historic homes that I loved and appreciated, gone, burned to the ground. The restaurants, the breakfast place, the coffee shop, the bar, burned to the ground. Everything, everything is gone. Everything is gone. And, it's a sobering experience. There's so many ways you feel. I'm 29, I'm childless, we're rebuilding no matter what. So it's not really a question. My grandparents are 85. And everything. My grandpa was like a little bit of a pack rat, but their house was like a museum. All the places they traveled to Africa, they traveled all over the country, all over the world. All my grandpa's nature photography, all of his hard drives of the pictures, his camera collection, all of his tool collection, everything he was tinkering with, his backyard that he loved to manicure, all the plants that he had planted. His garage that he converted himself into his own man cave, his high school stuff, his stuff from the army, every picture of his family, of his parents, my grandma, her father's Bible, the casket key that was for my great grandpa on my grandpa's side. So much of my family history is gone. And I think that's the thing that I'm struggling with the most. What do you do? How do you move forward without a past anymore? My grandparents are 85 and they did not deserve that. All the things, their family stuff, their family history burned up in a fire. Yearbooks and high school sweaters and this and that. And it's just that's the thing that I think I'm struggling with the most, because I'm 29. So, I'm 29, so I can survive a rebuild. Yes, some of my stuff burned, my clothes burned, my things burned, my house burned. The memories of that house burned. That house is so ingrained in my DNA. I could close my eyes and walk around anywhere in that house. That the hallway was creaked so much that I knew everyone's footsteps when they were walking. I knew my dad's footsteps on the hallway, my mom's, my sister's. I could tell who was walking when. I could maneuver through that house with my eyes closed. It's all gone, but it's all things. What destroys me is all of the memories and family history that was lost in my grandparents' house. And what destroys me even more is that my dad lost the home that he raised his family in and his childhood home in one night. He also lost all of his negatives. He's a photographer. All his negatives burned up. Camera equipment, his entire life's work burned up. I think the thing that I am so sad that I lost was my grandma and I. My grandma, who owned this house that I'm currently in, we would write letters to each other while I was in college, and I didn't fucking grab them. I didn't grab them.
And he has dementia now, and so it's like, I can't recreate that, just have the memories. I didn't grab them. The other thing, this is a happier thing, but these rings, I left these rings and I was kicking myself. This is the first fine jewelry that I ever bought myself. I worked at a jewelry company when I graduated from college, and this is my first fine jewelry. It's a moonstone ring with diamonds and gold, and it's engraved, and it's beautiful. I left it on my dresser. I left it... Oh, shit. My lighting is off. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. My lighting died. I should have known. This is the last thing I'll say. And I'll end it on this note. I'm sorry I got so emotional. These rings were left on my dresser in a ceramic bowl that my grandfather made while he was in a memory care facility before he died. And my sister found them in the rubble of my room. She found him in the bowl, still intact. They were a little fucked up. I was able to call my boss, my old boss, and I was like, can you fix these rings? She just restored them. I just got them back a couple days ago, and I'm never taking them off. I have so little things that I had pre-fire still, never taking them off. They're so important to me. But these rings and those letters were the things that I was kicking myself for not grabbing. At least I got the rings, and I have the memory of my grandmother and those letters. She's still alive, thank God. And it's so poetic that I was able to... These items were saved because of my grandfather. I kept the bowl. I kept the rings. I have them all. My grandfather is my guardian angel. Because the way he had the foresight to continue to think of his family and the future of his family is why we still have this house that I can seek refuge in, the house that my mom grew up in. I could stay here indefinitely. And I'm so blessed for that. His foresight, his love of his family is why I'm able to survive this. And he saved my rings. So, I lost his funeral program in the fire as well. But he's watching over me, and he's keeping my family safe. And he's saved me multiple times over. I love that man. And he's watching down and protecting us. I didn't think I'd get this emotional, but I'm still so emotional about it. In other news, if you want to follow the fire rebuilding journey, I will be posting on Instagram. I will be posting on my Substack. At this point in the process, we are officially getting the lot cleared the next week, so everything's gonna be gone, which will be another emotional moment in and of itself. The house that I grew up in my entire life, never knew another place to live, will be completely gone, and we'll be starting fresh. I just want everyone to send positive energy, pray, whatever you believe in. Send that to my family. Specifically, send that to my grandparents, my 85-year-old grandparents who don't deserve this. And pray that they have the strength to make it through a rebuild and find comfort and happiness from this experience. That's all I'm worried about. If you have it to give... If you have any extra moolah, I know we are living in crazy times, child, I understand. But if you have it to give, I will put the GoFundMe link in the description below. Please, please donate what you can. We've been able to raise a good amount, but we're splitting the money between my grandparents and us. This is for just general rebuilding and things like that. So I would really appreciate it if you could share it, if you could donate, whatever. But now we start fresh. I'm quite literally a phoenix rising from ashes at this point. On my 29th birthday, I hope and pray my 30s are better. But what I can say is you really know who your community is, who your friends are, who your family are in moments like these. I've also never felt so free. I don't know. It's so weird. But we move on. We move on. So, on the back end of this, what I will say is before my house burned down, I was starting a book club where we were reading Parable of the Sower, which is so ironic. It's so ironic. If you get it, you get it. I'll be making a YouTube video later about Parable of the Sower and the Talents. But book club is, we're having our second meeting for Parable of the Talents coming up. Hit the link, subscribe to the Substack for any updates on book club. If you want to vote for books in the future, if you want to vote for when we're going to meet, definitely sign up to the Substack for that. What else? And the Discord link can be found on the Substack, so definitely check that out. And it can be found in my link tree, so check that out. But podcast link, audio everywhere, visual on YouTube. Many, many more YouTube videos to come, so stay tuned. They will be less emotional. I will not be crying on the internet any longer, and it'll be a different setup. Yeah, and what else? If you want to watch me react to movies, link in the bio, subscribe to the Substack paid tier, $5 a month, $50 for the year. And I love you guys so much. So, that being said, Black Lives Matter, free Palestine until it's backwards, and we will be okay, I think. This felt very cathartic. Mwah. Love you guys so much. Goodbye.